but I didn't take cuts.
So that clip is part of what they are using against Mike Tyson in court. When Mike Tyson was in the news again recently, I wanted to dig deeper into his life, his beginnings, his boxing career, the man he used to be, and the man he is now, to see if there's any truth behind the recent allegations.
So I was staying at Cut's house. I come from a really poverty-stricken area, and when I came to live with Cut's, they live in a 14-room Victorian mansion. And I first come here, I said, wow, I could rob these white guys, these white motherfuckers. They ain't hip. Not thinking, I'm not knowing this guy been around the world a bunch of times. I never knew he was like me. He was from a bad neighborhood. He was a street kid like me.
The same much I trust him, I guess he trusts me, and he trusts me a lot. So, but no one really knows Mike Tyson. Nobody's really friendly with Mike Tyson.
Why?
Except Customato.
Your mind is not on your way. There's something distracting you.
And then one day he used to just say, listen, you have the chance to change your life, your family's life. You could be something very special. Don't you want to be champion? You could be champion of the world. And I didn't pay no attention to it. He said, really? You could be champion of the world. You could devastate the world. No man could take what you do. You just got to believe it. I looked at this guy, and then I started thinking. I said, this guy's really crazy. That's what I said, this guy's crazy. He said, you do what I tell you to do, and if it doesn't work, then you could leave. So I said, okay, bet. So I did everything he told me to do, and I won.
Here comes Mike, strikes in. He leaves it right here. Now he goes. I don't think you get up from this. Mike makes his leg flat on his back. The count is up to 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. He won't be able to do it. It's all over. Mike Tyson has won it. Makes almost no back throw. A dramatic first round knockout for Mike Tyson. Unbelievable strike. It came in the first round. And now the question is, who in this world has any chance against this man?
I can tell you that there has been a incident report made, and it's my understanding that Mr. Mike Tyson has been alleged to have committed the crime.
Anything said on like that?
I'm innocent. I'm a jerk sometimes, and I say things that sometimes crass and coarse, but I would never do nothing to that extent. And whatever I did, I may have took advantage of women before, but I never took advantage of her. I don't know what to say about that situation. It just basically took the whole life out of me in that situation. I never again trusted anyone.
Listen, I'll tell you, I'm here to say it myself. The least thing, again, listen, no knock to any female ever. And I hope that I'm saying that I can actually say this, because I'm going to say it. Mike Tyson don't need to violate any woman at any point, any time. Literally.
But dig, right?
I would speak to that. You don't have to say it. I'll speak to that.
Oh, I know, but I want you to know this. I'm not above violating a woman, right? But I didn't violate that woman. That's just keeping it real. That's just keeping it real. Especially back then. Back then, I wasn't above violating, taking no and stuff, but I didn't take cuts.
Afternoon. In the last 3 years, I had the chance to reflect on my life and develop my mind, and I will continue my journey to making myself a better person.
Mike Tyson, my favorite boxer ever, and not only my favorite boxer, but a hero to me as a kid. And I know it wasn't just me. I know so many people who grew up in the 80s, 90s, all looked up to Mike Tyson. And recently, his name has come up in the news again. Why? Because a woman is accusing him of sexual misconduct 30 years later.
A New York woman is accusing boxer Mike Tyson of raping her back in 1990s. She filed a lawsuit this month in Albany, seeking $5 million in damages. The woman claims that Tyson attacked her in a limo in the early 90s after she met him at a nightclub.
And when I first saw this article, I'm sitting there, I'm like, how is she coming after him 30 years later? Because there's a statute of limitations, right? But no, New York State passed a law recently called the Survivors Act. And in that act, somebody can come, and they lifted the statute of limitations. So somebody could basically come from 50 years ago and say somebody did something to me, right? And they could reopen the case. So that's what happened now. So this lady is opening up a case on Mike Tyson, suing him for $5 million, saying that he did things to her 30 years ago. So you ask yourself, how are they going to go to court and show, besides word of mouth, I said something, he said something, right? How are they going to say that she did something? How are they going to prove it? These aren't the days when we had cell phones, we had cameras, nothing. So how are they going to prove this, right? Well, there's all these articles that came out, but the issue with the articles is a lot of times these major news companies, they put out information, but they don't do any more research than what other newspaper outlets already put out. So they just go and copy the same information and basically rewrite and reword the same article 50 times. But there's a key that they were missing in this. And I'm going to say, first of all, before I talk further, that I'm not biased with any of this stuff. I mean, if these things did happen to the woman, I feel very bad for her. If it didn't happen to Mike Tyson, if he never did these things, I feel really bad for him. And I'm going to show you guys, okay, a little insight on what her team is actually going to be using in court against Mike, because you wonder how they're doing this with no evidence, right? Well, I'm going to show it to you. So in that intro that I worked on the last couple days, I put in 2 pieces of clips, okay? One was from a documentary called Tyson, great documentary that was filmed many years ago and has him talking a little bit about the Desiree Washington case and how he did not do anything to her, but he did it to other women. The second clip is a very rare clip that not everybody has seen. And in that clip, which I'm going to play for you guys again, he says the same thing, but in more detail. And I'm going to play that clip for you guys now. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it after.
Listen, I'll tell you, I'm here to say it myself. The least thing, again, listen, no knock to any female ever. And I hope that I'm saying that I can actually say this, because I'm going to say it. Mike Tyson don't need to violate any woman at any point, any time. Literally.
But dig, right?
I would speak to that. You don't have to say it. I'll speak to that.
Oh, I know, but I want you to know this. I'm not above violating a woman, right? But I didn't violate that woman. That's just keeping it real. Just keeping it real. Especially back then. Back then, I wasn't above violating, taking no stuff, but I didn't take hers.
So that clip is part of what they are using against Mike Tyson in court.
It's go time. It's time to take it off. It's go time. I got to jump off. Baby, it's go time. When it's y'all bedtime, I'm ready for showtime. Bring it back. Bring it back. Yeah, it's go time. It's time to take it off. It's go time.
So that clip is part of what they are using against Mike Tyson in court. Now, he did say the things that he said in that clip. We can't, hide the fact that he said those things. But it brings me to ask so many different questions. Now, I'm going to ask them. I'm not going to answer them. I want you guys to think for yourselves when I read out these questions. So in these clips, he's talking about things he did to other women, right? How is there proof that that is one of the women that he was talking about? That's number one. Number two, why didn't she report it back then when she could? She didn't even need this law lifted, right? What, was she waiting all this time? She saw that clip of Mike Tyson talking about these things and said, you know what, maybe I can cash in. And now I'm just saying, I'm asking these questions. I'm not saying, again, I feel bad if she's a victim. I'm just answering the questions that I know I'm thinking, and I know you guys are thinking too. And then finally, on Mike's perspective, when he filmed or said these things, this law wasn't in effect, right? This law didn't exist. So by him saying the things he said, do you think he ever knew that it could be used against him like it is now? So these are all questions that I know we're all thinking in our head. And this is a sad story in so many perspectives. And again, if she's a victim, I feel bad for her, But again, you have to prove these things. You can't just come 30 years later with no evidence besides just a clip like that. I know that they have other things on their team. But what are you really going to show 30 years later? Sue the guy for $5 million. And it's sad because Mike Tyson, listen, this guy, we all knew the person that he was. He admitted the person that he was, right? He lived in the streets as a kid. He had that street life. He grew up. He ran into trouble with the law, life issues, biting Holyfield in the ear. That poor guy had to fix it. There was a lot of things, he wasn't proud himself about.
Afternoon. In the last 3 years, I had the chance to reflect on my life and develop my mind, and I will continue my journey to making myself a better person.
But over the years, this guy has done everything in his life to try to become a better person. And that's what life's about, right? None of us are perfect people. And we all learn from our mistakes in the past, and we try to come and be a better person out of our experiences, right? Some of us succeed and some of us fail. But he's a story of somebody who has proven over time, all these years, to be successful at changing his ways in life. Because we all know, how many people you guys know do bad things, are bad people in life, and they never change. So he is a testament of a person who has changed. But the issue is now, if he did it, if he didn't do it, none of us are there, we don't know, right? All this changing he did to be a better person, the sad part is now he's got to deal with this. But the thing that's sad in this, it's like, you think about it, it's like you can never really, truly escape your past because things like this can come up. But you got to give the guy credit because he did things. Again, he changed his life 360 to live a better life, be a better father to his kids, not get in trouble with the law besides what he did in the plane because that kid deserved it. But other than that, Mike Tyson has become a better man. And I think that, we're going to have to see what happens in this case, what other evidence they're going to put out. And you know what? If I'm Mike Tyson, I'm thinking to myself, be proud. Be proud of the person you became. You can't go in the past and change your past. You got to deal with it. And if this is one of those cases, you're going to just have to deal with it. But just know in your heart the person you became. And again, if she is a victim in this case, I'm not taking that away from her. I feel bad for her too. All in all, this is a sad story. And we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. And I thank everybody again for watching. I had a good time actually making this video because Mike Tyson, like I said in the beginning of this video, I was a big fan of his. So putting this all together, I had a good time.